Okay. All right. Here we go. Adaptations in the wide world. Oh boy, of frogs. I actually didn't want that one. I want this one. There we go. I added a little frog today. I know this is how some of us are feeling. Like we just need to lay down and
I feel like that right now.
Yep, but we can do this. We are going to rock it today, my friends. We have, we're going to do a variety of things. In fact, let's look at our learning targets for today. So our first one is I can review the correct answers for the mid-unit assessment. So last year, or not last year, wow, I am really, my mouth and my brain are not connected. So let me take it. All right. Last week, you took a mid-unit assessment. And you know that Mrs. Woodland was the one that corrected them. And so she made up a nice little chart for us with everybody and their answers. And so that we can put grades in our grade book and look at how everybody did. So today we are going to go over those answers. So I know you don't have your test in front of you, but I'm hoping that you can still remember how what you answered. And we're going to go through, and I'm going to actually use some answers from some of you to show what a 3 answer was. So I'm going to go through those, and then we are going to continue to type your pourquoi stories. And at the end, I'm going to ask you to fluently or to practice reading your narrative fluently. Again, just a reminder that when we come back from winter break, we're going to be asking you to do that for a fluency assessment, and so that you are going to be recording yourself reading your story. So we're going to do a little practicing of that today. So here we are. We had our story was, we had 2 things. We had a poem called Spring Peepers, and here is my picture to go along with that one. And see if that picture sparks some things when we read it again. See if that picture gets your brain there. And then we read a pourquoi about why do frogs hop, and we answered some questions to go along.
Mrs. Harrison, someone keeps calling out for you. I'm not sure who it is.
Okay. Yes. What can I do?
I forget what my answer is.
Okay, well, when I go through the questions, it'll probably, when I actually do the questions, it'll probably remind you about what your choices were. I'm not going to be able to remind everybody, unfortunately, since there's 41 of you. I won't be able to go through what everybody's answers were. So, but it's very important that we understand why the correct answers are the correct answers. So you'll just have to try to do your best. I'm sorry, I know it was a week ago for sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go and use my dock camera. I'm going to go ahead and reread, actually, the poem so that you have that in your brain. And so when we're going through the answers again, see this. There we go. Hopefully you can see that well enough. All right, so here, and of course, it looked a little different on your computer, obviously, because this is the paper version. But here we go. It's called The Spring Peepers. Peep, peep, we steal your sleep. In score of choruses we cheep. Beneath our chins, a thin balloon to help our song from March till June. Each spring we sing to bring a mate and make you stay awake too late. All right, and so there was our poem. And then we had some questions. So I did ask for you guys to have two of your tabs so that you could toggle back and forth from, and then again, this is the paper version, so it looks slightly different than your Google form did, but the questions are exactly the same. And hopefully you also had your poem nearby so you could go back, because one of our learning targets that day was we could explicitly return to the text to make sure that we were seeing, we could go back to the text and use it to help us answer our questions. Okay, so our first question was, in this poem, what does "we steal your sleep" mean? What does it mean? And so our choices were, burglars come at night, the frogs sing only at night, the frogs croak so loudly no one can sleep, or the frogs sleep all night. Again, let's go back up here. Peep, peep, we steal your sleep. In score of choruses, we cheep. So it's always good to go back to the text and find it where it is. We steal your sleep, and see which one we think is the right answer. There's someone who's willing to remember back that far, or just be brave and tell me which one they chose. Mr.
Haley Booker is ready.
Oh, okay.
So I think that it is that you they cheep all night so that we can't sleep.
Very good. The frogs croak so loudly, no one can sleep. Very nice. We steal your sleep. In other words, there's croaking and we just can't ignore them, right? Very nice. Then part B goes with this question, doesn't it? It says, which lines from the poem support your answer to this part? So we go back to the text and we look at we sing to bring. Okay, we sing to bring a mate. That one is way down here where steal is up here. And make you stay awake too late. Okay, there's that one's also down at the bottom. It kind of goes with that about beneath our chins a thin balloon. Okay, that's here. And to help our song from March till June. Okay, that's also in the middle. All right, so we might have to reread it again to make sure. We steal your sleep and score of choruses we cheat beneath our chins a thin balloon to help our song from March till June. In each spring we sing to bring a mate and make you stay awake too late. All right, who thinks they know which choice? Actually, first of all, is there anyone that we are pretty sure does not help us? Anybody have one that they would like us to cross out that they think does not help us at all? Mr. Cole, which one should I cross out?
Beneath our chins, a thin balloon. Because that has
nothing to do with it, does it? Nope. So we can cross that one out. So that leaves us 3 choices, doesn't it? And so anybody have a choice they want to help us? Mr. Noah, what do you think?
burglars come at night. At night.
So we're actually on this question, and the answer was the frogs croak so loudly no one can sleep.
Oh yeah.
So we're looking for a phrase that goes with this one.
We sing to bring. I don't think it's that one.
Nope. Okay, we'll cross that one out. All right, so then that leaves us with 2. What do you think? Who can help me out? Which one of those ones that's left over is the right one? I have a lot. I'm really quizzical, Mrs. Aubin. I have so many friends who have their camera off.
Hand up.
I'm just wondering about so many cameras off. I know some of you have to, but whew, that's a lot of you.
And if you have to, your parents should have emailed us that you're having internet problems. Because if I ask your parents, hey, I noticed that so-and-so's camera was off majority of the day. Are you guys struggling with internet? That's what I've been doing. That's what I do when Mrs. Harrison is talking. I email parents, I text parents. Some of you know that. So please, we want to make sure you have integrity today. You're doing the right thing, right?
Have that camera on so I can see your smiley face. I miss you guys. And it's also a way for me to tell, because I can tell from your facial expressions how you're feeling about things. All right, Ben, which one do you think's the right one, buddy?
I don't know, but what pages are these 2?
These aren't on. This is from the test you took last week, sweetie. You don't have a paper version of these. These are the ones that Mrs. Woodland graded last week, and you did it on a Google form. So you don't have the paper version. I'm sorry, but thank you.
What is the poem?
The poem was The Spring Peepers, and that was attached to your that assignment that one day. That comes from that fun book, Lizards, Frogs, and Pollywogs, that we have all of our poems from. It came from that book, the one that's orange. So yeah, you don't have it with you except for right here on the screen is where it is, my friends. So thank you for asking though, Ben. That was really good to clarify. All right, last time, my friends. Who's got it? Who can tell me which one it's supposed to be? Mr. Madison.
I think it is and make you stay awake too late.
Very good. That is our correct answer. Because no one can sleep. And you, so what is it if you're not sleeping? You are awake.
Away.
Right? Yeah, so that one, very good. All right, then this one said list 3 pairs of rhyming words in this poem. So we're going to talk about these because when Mrs. Woodland graded them, this is how she kind of did it. So if you had 3 pairs of words that did rhyme, then you get a 3. Some of you did some more, so you got some 4s. If you listed any words that did not rhyme, then unfortunately it resulted in a 1 score, because if you listed things that don't rhyme that in your list, then we had to assume that you didn't know, you weren't sure what rhyming was. So she was pretty strict on this one. So I'm gonna go over a couple of them that don't rhyme after we list some that do. Okay, so who sees some words in here that rhyme in our poem? I'm gonna do some highlighting of some ones that rhyme. Josh Carter, what do you see that rhymes, buddy?
Sing, bring.
All right, sing, bring. All right, and they both have what at the end? They both have ing, right? Bring
ING.
and sing. Do you see another word that has ing that's right by that? Does anybody see another word that would go along with bring and sing? That's another ing. Cole, what other word do you see?
Spring.
And spring as well. So this would be a really great set. They all end in ing. They all have the same ing sound. Ing. Now, sometimes when things rhyme, they can have a different spelling at the end if it's the same sound. And we're going to find some other ones, but a lot of times you will find rhyming words have the exact same ending. Spring, sing, bring. That is one set of words. Does anybody see another set of words? Max Fox, what do you see?
Mate, make, late.
All right, so so mate and late. I will agree with those two. Mate goes with late. Does stay rhyme with mate or late? No, it doesn't, does it? Because it doesn't have that.
Balloon and G rhyme.
So mate and late. And if we were, and some of you also added some words that weren't in the poem to rhyme. So we could say mate, late, state, but state isn't in the poem. So we couldn't put that one in there, could we? That one wouldn't belong. So some of you tried to rhyme words that were here, but that weren't actually in the poem. So we couldn't give you credit if the word didn't actually belong in the poem. That was one of the things we had to do. So mate and late. Who else sees another one? Anybody see another different one?
I do.
All right, I'm trying to find you. That Haley Booker? All right, Miss Haley, what do you see?
Balloon in June.
Balloon and June. And here is an example of 2 words that end in the same sound. Balloon and June. But are they spelled the same ending? Nope, they sure not. They aren't. But they do have the same exact sound. And that is what we're looking for, the same exact sound at the end. So balloon and June. All right, Miss Marin, I see your hand up. What else do you see?
Peep, sleep, and cheap.
Yeah, good. There you go. Peep, sleep, and cheap. And they all do have that EEP ending, right? They all do. So out of the 3 that they asked you for, you had at least 4 options, at least 4 of them. So when I noticed that some of you also did, so some non-examples of things that did not go with that. Some of you said words like hot and hop. Oh, and hop. Do those 2 words rhyme? Hop and pop and hop? Do those 2 words rhyme? Give me a yes.
They don't.
They both start with an HO, but a rhyming words have to have the end. The end needs to rhyme. And ot and op do not rhyme. They are not the same sound. And then another, somebody else put the words light and the word night. Do they rhyme? Light and night.
Yes, but not really. I don't think they're in the poem.
They do rhyme, but are they inside of this poem?
No.
No. So those don't count either. So these 2 options here, unfortunately, didn't work. Then we had another friend who put mate and make. Oop, I don't know if you guys can see that. Mate and make. Again, kind of like this one, it starts the same.
They do not rhyme.
But they don't rhyme because we're looking at the N sound, mate and make. And they are not the same sound, so they do not rhyme. So I also had one friend who put question marks as their answer. Out of all of these options, you had 3 pairs of rhyming words. There were actually at least 4 choices, 4 sets, at least. Does it make any sense to put question marks in an answer? Give me a facial expression, anybody. Does that make sense to put question marks? No, because at least you could try, right? You could try to put some answers in if you and you took the test with Mrs. Aubin and Mrs. Harrison. So we were actually online with us. So you could have asked us a question. If you had a question and you weren't sure, I could have given you some hints. I can't tell you exactly what you put, but this is a 1 answer. This is a 1 score because that's not even trying. And that's a big bummer. All right. So we really need you to try for your answers. Putting question marks is not an appropriate response. All right. Number 3, according to the poem, how do spring peepers use the thin balloon beneath their chins? So we go back to beneath our chins, a thin balloon to help our song from March till June. All right, does that help them hold water when they swim? To help them sleep, to sing, or to eat? Who thinks they know which one that one is? All right, Logan.
2.
Oh my goodness. Logan, would you like to read it to me?
And I have another rhyming word too.
Oh, you had another set of rhyming words? What did you see, bud?
Chin and thin.
Chin and thin, you're right. Those would have counted as well. And they do, even though, and they're not, a lot of these are at the end of the words, but they just added ones for anything that we wanted, anything in the poem. So chin and thin would definitely work. All right, I'm looking for the answer to number 3. I think my friend Ethan gave me the answer there with some gusto. It is to sing. Beneath our chins, a thin balloon to help our song. So if you're making a song, you must be doing what? You must be singing, for sure. Must be singing. So that was the answer to that one. And then we had one more question that went along with the poem. Choose the correct dictionary definition of the word score as it is used in this poem. So Mrs. Harrison, it did not put this part on the Google form, but it's just basically how do you say that word? Score. So it's just basically the pronunciation, and that's what dictionaries do, but I left that out because I didn't want it to confuse you. So our choices were the record of the total points earned in a game or a test. So Mrs. Aubin and I often give you a score on your test. Mrs. Woodland gave you a score on this assessment. Or the total points in a game. So you could say, what is the score of the Broncos game, right? B, the printed or written form of a musical piece. So sometimes, last year, Mrs. When we had in music, our teachers they get ready to play on the piano, or they're getting ready for you to sing something, and that piece of paper that they have that's printed that has all the musical notes and the words is a score. Number 3, a group of 20 people. So you might, or 20 anything, or years. So what you might have heard when there's a very famous speech, 80 and 20 and so many years ago, 80. So a score is a group of 20, in this case 20 years in that particular speech. This score, the making of a goal, a run or a basket. So when the Broncos make a touchdown, they score, right? They make points. And to give a grade. So I would score, like if you were on a diving board and you dove in the Olympics, they give you a score, a grade on how you did. So let's go back to our piece. And it says, so peep, peep, we steal your sleep, in score of choruses we cheep. Beneath our chins, a thin balloon to help our song from March till June. Each spring we sing to bring a mate and make you stay awake too late. Okay, who thinks that there's some that we can cross out? That this poem is definitely not about some of these things. What is this poem definitely not about? Oh, I still have several friends who are blocked out. Oh my goodness, I would love to see your faces so I can see if you're with me. All right, who's got an option for me? I'm looking for more hands. Come on, friends. We're doing the wrong answer here. You're eliminating the wrong answer. Certainly you can help me with that. Which one do we, Mr. Jensen, what is definitely not the right answer?
To give a grade to.
To give a grade to. They are definitely, it says in score. They're not grading anybody, right? And we're not grading them. So nope, definitely not that one. Are they playing a game? Are the frogs playing a game? Nope. So it's not going to be this one, and it's not going to be this one. So that leaves 2 options. The printed or written form of a musical piece or a group of 20. Let's go back to our piece. Peep, peep, we steal your sleep, in score of choruses we cheep. I don't know if you are sure what a chorus is, but a group of singers, right? A chorus is a group of singers. So which one of these answers makes the most sense then? Miss Madison, what do you think? Oh, I can't hear you, Pop.
I think it's the printed or written form on a musical piece.
Yay, Madison! That's exactly the one it is. Because the whole thing is about music, isn't it? They are singing to us. In score of choruses we cheep. Beneath our chins, a thin balloon. So, and there's the word song, and we sing, and we're in a chorus. It's all has to do with music. Very nice job, Madison. All right, and then I asked you to read this pourquoi tale. Why do frogs hop? One hot day before frogs could hop, Frog took a walk to sit in the shade of the of a tree next to the pond. He was hoping to catch a delicious dragonfly for his lunch, so he sat very still. He was so still that Snake nearly didn't see him. He was about to slither by when he heard Frog's growling stomach. Snake thought Frog looked tasty. This thought made Frog's stomach rumble loudly. Frog heard the sound and quickly turned around. I'm only very small. I won't fill you up, Snake, Frog croaked. Snake thought about this and his stomach growled again. Frog was very small, but Snake was very hungry. Clever Frog knew that Snake liked to race because he could swim very fast. Race me across the pond, Frog suggested. You can eat me if you win. If I win, you let me go. Snake immediately agreed. He knew that it would take Frog much longer to swim across or walk around because he was so small. This is too easy, he thought. 3, 2, 1, go. Frog knew he couldn't swim as fast as Snake, and it would take even longer to walk around the pond, but he needed to win. He could see some large leaves floating on the pond. If he could get from one leaf to the next, he might make it across the pond faster than Snake. The only way was to hop. He had never hopped before, but perhaps his long back legs would help. Make him make a giant leap. Hop. He made his to the first leap. Hop, hop, hop. Frog jumped from one leaf to the next. He landed on the other side of the pond just a second before Snake slithered out of the water. Snake was angry to have been beaten by a small frog. Frog hopped joyfully back across the leaves to return to the other side of the pond. All right, so we talked about the problems of stories. There's a main problem and some other problems that usually also are in the story, but we are looking for the main problem of the story. Is it Frog is hungry and wants to catch a dragonfly? Frog needs to win a race against Snake? Snake is hungry and needs to eat? Or it is a very hot day, so Frog needs shade from the tree? Now, some of these are secondary ones. It's a very hot day and Frog needs shade from a tree. That was the problem.
Snake needs to win a race against snakes. Frog needs to win a race against snakes.
That is true, and that is our correct answer. Snake is hungry and needs to eat, but that's not our main problem. And Frog is hungry and wants to catch a dragonfly. That is a problem, but that was not the problem for the whole story. So Frog needs to win a race against the snake. Good job, Mr. Ethan. B, what details from the text support your answer to part A? One hot day before frogs could hop, Frog took a walk to sit in the shade of the pond. Nope, that doesn't have to do with winning. Snake thought Frog looked tasty. He thought this thought made Snake's stomach rumble loudly. Well, no, that goes together with Snake is hungry. So that's not our answer. He was hoping to catch a delicious dragonfly for his lunch, so he sat very still. Oh, no, that has to do with the dragonfly one. So hopefully it's D. Race me across the pond, Frog suggested. You can eat me if you win. If I win, you let me go. That was our answer. I had a lot of friends who were really worried about Snake. A lot of you answered had to do with Snake being hungry. But remember what the name of our story was. Why do frogs hop? Is the story about Snake, really? No, he's a character, but it's not really about Snake.
No, it's not about Snake, it's about Frog.
It's about Frog. How does the main character respond to the problem? In other words, the frog. Use details from the text to explain what he thought, did, said, or felt. Well, I have quite a few options that some people gave me. So I had some really great answers. I had a couple of people who got 4s, and they said things like, Frog said, race me across the pond. I'm going to write you, this is hard to read, but I'll read it to you. Frog said, race me across the pond. If Frog won, the Snake would have to let him go. So it tells what Frog said, and that was one of the things we had to do. We had to say what they thought, did, said, or felt. To get a 3, then you needed to include all of those, at least one of those things about what he said, felt, thought, and use a detail from the text. So we also said he felt scared.
What about my story?
Because he didn't want to be eaten. He felt scared. So how did he feel? He felt scared. Why? Because he didn't want to be eaten. So he figured out a race against Snake. So those were good 4 answers. 3s, if you told us, so some of you who said 3 said, Frog said, if you race me, then you can eat me if I win, let me go. So if you gave a detail but didn't complete the second part where the thought, what they said or felt, then we gave you a 3. So several of you got those. A 2 was if you just said he felt scared, or if you just said he did a race. That's part of what he did, but we needed both sections for both answers. And some of you, if you just said worried or question marks, this is another one I got a bunch of question marks on. That's not an answer. You need to try to give the answer. All right. And if you said just one word, jumped or hopped, that does tell us a little bit about what he did, but you really aren't supporting it about why he hopped or what he did and why he hopped. All right, last 3 questions here. How is the problem in the story resolved? How is it solved? How is it that sun? Remember that sun that's our solution, right? That's our symbol. So frog wins the race by swimming quicker than snake. Snake wins the race and eats frog. Frog wins the race by walking quickly around the pond. Frog wins the race by hopping across the leaves on the pond. Now, I have to tell you, friends, this one was pretty easy. And some of you made some mistakes, which made me wonder how carefully you read that story. Some of you said swimming. Did he swim across? Did he swim? Did frogs swim? No, it's called why do frogs hop? But some of you picked that one. Snake wins the race and eats frog. That definitely does not happen, right? That definitely does not happen.
Yeah, of course it doesn't. Frog wins the race and gets away.
Exactly. Frog wins the race by walking quickly? Is that what?
No, by hopping.
No, he hops, right? So it's D for sure. What is the purpose of this narrative? So it's to explain why frogs hop. So most of you got that. Most of you got that, but that answer is only a 2 answer because it says use details from the text to explain your answer. So some of you did a great job of saying things like the purpose is to explain frogs hop on a frog hopped on the leaves to get across fast. That is a detail. That would make it a 3. So, or some of you even said the title is why frogs hop. Some of you added in that frog hops instead of walks, and that's when it shows that frogs hop instead of walk. Some of you even said, I love this. Some of you said, one day, the first sentence says, one day before frogs hop. So even that first sentence, so you had to give some details in this section here. You had to add to not just why frogs hop, but you had to explain with a detail to get your 3. All right. So I did have some of you do that. And if you just said to explain why frogs hop, we could only give you a 2 because you didn't complete your answer. Number 5, the text says Snake was angry to have been beaten by a small frog. Frog hopped joyfully back across the leaves to return to the other side. What does return mean? There's our prefix.
Return means to go back to somewhere you already were before.
Okay. So this is giving us they even gave us a hint that means again. So when we look in here, we got to make sure that we read all of the answers to get to the best one, right? So because there are more than one answer that has the word again in it. So to turn in a circle, to go back to the same place again, to move backward from one place to another, to do the same thing again. So he's returning. So is he turning in a circle? No, he's not. So is he doing the same thing again? No. Let's read the sentence again. Frog hopped joyfully back across the leaves to return to the other side. So is he moving backwards or is he going back to the same place again? B. B is our answer, to go back to the same place again. And there is our again word, but we also had this one, and that was not the correct answer. So you couldn't just look for the again to make sure that it had the last question, and then we're going to get to our stories. You know that joy means happiness. What do you think joyfully might mean? So this one was tricky. What do you think, Marin? What would you have put?
You're full of joy.
Full of joy, that would work. But they said that joy means happiness. So if you said full of joy, Mrs. Woodland would have given you a 2 because it's full of joy. That's a great 2 answer. But look at what joy means. So that would be a 2. What would we look at this word here? Who could put that in? Mr. August? I'm not the dentist, my friend. I can't check out your teeth there, sweet pea. All right. Who can give me though? What would it be? Cole, what can we say?
Full of happiness.
There you go. Full of happiness would get you a 3. Very nice. Or if you said full of joy, she definitely would have given you some credit, but she really wanted that happiness there. You could have also said, some of you said doing something with joy. That gave you a 3 as well. Because it is an adverb. And so Mrs. Woodland gave you that. And if you just said happy, that just gave you a 2. So we needed the full part. We definitely needed that part in our answer. And we definitely need something to do with happy or happiness or being, or a little bit more explanation. All right. So some of you who just said happy, just know that we couldn't quite give you the full answer for that. And again, if you gave me question marks, we had to give you a 1 on that one. All right. So my friends, hopefully that helped you out a little bit. We do take a little quiz tomorrow. The one for tomorrow has to do with comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs, like Mrs. Aubin's been working on in All Block, and how we worked on yesterday and the day before for our when we said tinier, tiniest, tiny, tinier, and tiniest, or slowly, more slowly, most slowly. All right, so there's my little guy who's hopping across the leaves, right? And there's our thin balloon getting ready to sing. All right, so I told you that I would show you what Mrs. Aubin and I will be grading when we get ready, because you're about to do some typing in just a moment. This is the grading paper that we will look at when we are grading your story. So it's really important, Mr. Charlie Carr, that you pay attention real quick to all the parts, okay? So we're going to give you a grade for the plan. So we will be looking to see whether you did your hit pages that have a plan on them. Then we are looking for craft and style. Did you establish the situation and your characters? Do you have a sense of closure at the end? Are your events sequenced nicely? First thing, second thing, fourth, like did the things go in order and make sense? Do you have temporal words or phrases like next, finally, all of those ones that we have, that we had that list for, first, second, at the end, all those phrases. Do you have those in there? So make sure you do as you're typing today. Dialogue, do you have some sort of talking in your story? All right, do you have those quotation marks in there? We're looking for dialogue. Adjectives and adverbs, remember we talked about making sure that you are writing your story so that your reader can see it in their heads like you see it in yours. So adjectives are describing words that have to do with nouns. So so make sure that you're describing your characters. Adverbs, how are they hopping? Are they hopping slowly? Are they climbing quickly? Those words that help me see in my head what your characters are doing and how they're doing it. And then it's important that your story answers the why question. So when we had our story, it was, why do pollywogs wiggle? You have to answer that question. Why do they wiggle? Well, they wiggle to get away from predators. That's in our story. We're also looking for capitalization, punctuation, and spelling. I'm going to focus more on that tomorrow, about making sure that you have your capitals now, but you, of course, go ahead and try to do your capitals, your end marks, and your spelling as you go, but just know that tomorrow we're going to focus on that a little bit more. All right, I know that it's been a while. It was last week when we talked about dialogue, so I really quickly just want to remind you about this. Remember that when you have dialogue, the quotation marks are the front door to your talking and the back door to your talking. And here's your dialogue tag. So help, please help me, he screamed. Here's our dialogue tag, but the quotation marks go around what the character's saying. The word spoken should have quotation marks around them. A comma at the end inside the quotation marks before the rest of the sentence. So remember, we practiced this. The comma goes after the talking, before the tag, or if we did it this way, Rana thought, comma, how strange, it seems to be getting cooler. So our comma either goes at the end of the talking, if the dialogue tag comes after, the dialogue tag comes before, then the comma goes before the talking. And remember, if somebody's thinking, it's internal dialogue and you can put quotes around it, just like Rana thought, all right? Or I could say, Mrs. Harrison wondered, I wonder what's for lunch today. So I could put quotation marks around that. And so make sure that you have that comma in there. And you always need a capital at the beginning of your dialogue. That first word inside the quotation marks should be a capital. Now, a lot of you were struggling a little bit where things were yesterday. Here is your keyboard. Don't forget that here is your period, here is your comma, and you need to shift to get that quotation mark, all right? You have to click with your pinky on this shift, and then click on the quotation mark with your other pinky. They have to happen at the same time, otherwise you're gonna get what we call an apostrophe over here, okay? And don't forget, you shift when you make a capital as well. And I know some of you like to hit cap locks and then instead, and then find your word, but the best way is to shift and then do your letter instead of hit cap locks, because then you end up with way too many capitals. All right, tomorrow we're going to talk about this a little bit, but just remember that everything that you're going to fill out this checklist tomorrow. But I want you to think about, what does your story need to have? These are all the things that you should already have done when you were planning and when you wrote it. But I just want you to remember that if you're struggling with what does it need to have in it, here we have all of the things. I use dialogue. I use description. I tell my readers what the setting is, where the story takes place. I use, words that show what order things happen, like first, then, next. These are all those items that we want to make sure that you're getting typed into your story. Some of you struggle with, here's the sentences I wrote, but then you type something else. Make sure that you're typing what you wrote originally, and then if you want to improve on it in the revising process, you can. But go ahead and type the sentences that you originally wrote and then improve them. All right. And then, so that's what we're going to work on right now. We've got a good 15 minutes that I want us to go ahead and write our work. And Mrs. Aubin is going to be plucking some people real quick to have them show her some things. And so meanwhile, I'm just going to go ahead and stay while you go to your, so everybody's going to open their tab. Open your tab if you haven't already. Some of you already have done it.
Yeah, do not leave, guys. You're doing this on
Nobody's
Zoom.
leaving. Everybody's staying. Thank you, Mrs. Aubin, for reminding me of that.
And some kids have told me that they finished typing already, and I told them to look at that checklist that you just went over.
Yes.
And to improve it.
And that checklist.
Revise it, edit it.
That checklist, for those people who think they're done, is inside of your workbook. And I wasn't going to do this until tomorrow, but it is on page 40 and 41. If you think you are finished, which I don't think you are, page 40, 41. And you should have about 20 sentences. If you have 3 to 5 sentences on each of those pages, you should have at least 20 sentences if you have not already done that.
So Robert and Gabe, count your sentences. See if you have that many.
You have, because there are 6 parts and each one of them had 3 to 5 sentences. So that's at least 20 sentences. So go to your Google Docs. You should have your, you should have your why, blah, 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 already ready. Mrs. Harrison pulled hers up. Here's our story that we wrote. And if you look at it, it's pretty long. If you followed our theme, I'm not even done yet. This actually is only through our problem. I have a paragraph for each page. And I'm not even finished with our story yet. And if you look at it, it's about a page long already. Not quite a page yet. So my story is probably going to be, our story that we wrote together is probably 2 full pages on that 18 number. All right. Okay, so we're going to stay on. You're going to do some typing. If you need any help, I'm here. Mrs. Aubin is going to pluck some people, and I'm going to be here hanging out with you. So I should see hands typing. Miss Booker, you should be typing.
So guys, if it says join a breakout room, that's just me pulling you. So please join. And I'm just going to ask you to show me something real quick, and that's it. So I
The
won't get
rest
to
of you are
everybody
with
today.
me typing.
Yep.
Okay, so I should see typing hands. Everybody should be in their document, typing their story. My friends that think they're done, I think you probably need to add some details. You really shouldn't be done. I like it when I see both hands typing. Good job, Noah, having both hands there. Awesome. Is there anybody?
I'm just counting my sentences.
Good. I know. I appreciate that. Good job. I like seeing both hands typing. Good keyboarding. Is there anybody who's having trouble finding their story? Anybody who's having trouble finding their story from yesterday? Let me know if I can help. That's why I'm here. Just like if we were sitting in class, I could come over and help. Just have to reach through the screen. Miss Cernay, are you typing your story, sweetheart? This is time for to type your story. This is what we're doing for right now. Mr. Lennox, I saw that yours is still centered. You're going to want to make it so, see, Mrs. Harrison's is not centered. It's left aligned. You're going to want to make sure yours is left aligned. And the title should be centered in your name, but you're going to want the rest of it to be left aligned. And then you're going to want to go back to your dialogue and make sure it has all those things we were talking about, capitals and the commas. Okay. Yes, Noah. What can I do for you, buddy?
I have like 25 sentences.
Excellent. All right. So that looks about right. So see if you can go in and add some more adjectives or adverbs, describing words, because that's going to be one of those things we check mark off the list, right? So see if you can go back.
Yeah.
Mr. Gavin, how's the typing going? Okay. How many are you almost done? How many sentences do you have, Mr. Gavin? Have you counted them yet? Let me know when you get there. Miss Madison, both hands are typing with both hands. We're keyboarding properly. I know. I mean, but I want you to learn how to do it properly, because when you get to middle school, you're going to want to type with both of your hands. I promise. Okay. I promise. You're going to thank me later, even though you're mad at me right now. You're going to thank me later. So Jensen, you asked what gives you a 4 on, I think that was probably for the test, but I just wanted to double check. Is that what you were talking about, bud? Mr. Jensen is maybe with Mrs. Aubin. I don't know. All right. Looking for two-handed typing. Good job.
Mrs. Harrison.
Mm-hmm. Yes, bud? I think I was just typing you a comment. So I would love it if you could add some more adjectives and adverbs and go through page 40, 41 and make sure that you really have all of the things before you. I'm sorry it keeps kicking you out. Internet seems to be rough today, but I'd love for you to stay.
Miss Harrison,
Mr. Lucas, is that you? Yep.
like after you've typed a page, do you like press enter and start a new?
That is a great thing. Yes, go to the next line. Can you see mine on, go back to Zoom for just a second? Can you see my story? Or our story, actually? I went ahead and I did click enter and went to the next line and did our next page. So I have 4 paragraphs so far because I've done 4 of our pages. All right. So yes, if you're done with the page typing, you should probably go to the next line and go ahead and do that. Gavin, excellent. So Gavin, see if you can add in a couple more, bud. See if you can add in some extra action or some extra description.
Harrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrison. Your
Who's-
co-host and Mrs. Aubin is host, by the way.
Right, because she needs to be, because she's doing the breakout rooms. She's giving some grades and she had to be host. Yes.
Are we all gonna be in breakout rooms with Mrs. Aubin?
Either today or tomorrow. Yes.
Okay.
If she doesn't get to you today, she'll get to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Miss Harrison,
Yes.
I have 27 sentences.
Wow. Is that Mr. Cooper? Is that who's talking to me?
Yeah.
Wow, Cooper. Now, are they complete sentences? Are they all have a subject and a predicate? All complete sentences, make sure that they're all complete. No, stray dangling participles. Awesome. All right. Do you have some really great description in there for me? Some good adjectives and some good adverbs? Excellent. All right. Well, you can start looking over page 40 and 41 for me if you'd like.
Miss Harrison,
Yes, ma'am.
can I read you my story that I've got so far?
Oh, I would love for you to do that, but unfortunately, we need to keep it kind of just questions for right now. Tomorrow we will we'll share it with everybody. Everybody can share with me tomorrow, and then and we might be able to have a chance to do some sharing tomorrow, Miss Evie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But we want to keep it quiet for people who are typing today.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry. Maybe tomorrow though. All right, I'm looking for two-handed typing. Some of you are doing the hunt and peck thing. I can tell because your hand is like here and your other hand is on the keyboard. If your hand is on your face, it's impossible to type with it.
I was asked to join a breakout room.
Yes, please do.
Then when I pressed to join, but then it just kicked me out of the whole entire meeting.
Okay, all right.
I'll do it again. Ready, Finn? I'm going to do it again for you. I noticed you didn't come, so
Mrs. Harrison.
Okay. Yes, who's talking to me?
I'm all done typing.
All right, so go back and reread. Make sure that
Okay.
you have everything you need, right, Miss Haley? Yeah, go back and reread and make sure it makes sense. Make, all those normal things like we do when we do cups, like we we reread to make sure it makes sense. So do that first.
Miss Harrison,
Yes.
one of the characters in my story is the color, like their skin is bubblegum pink.
Oh, that is a great description. That
She's
is a
like-
great way to, because I know exactly what pink. I'm not gonna mistake that pink, am I? Nice.
Miss Harrison, one guy in my story got eaten.
Oh no. Oh no. I hope he wasn't the main character because that might ruin the whole Y part, huh?
No, he was a slow one.
He was okay. Okay, don't make it too gruesome. Make sure it's a rated G story for Mrs. Harrison. She doesn't like too bad of violence, all right? Give me a G story. Mrs. Aubin is she and I can't handle too much gruesomeness. So keep that in mind. All right, so you're typing. Is everybody doing okay with their quotation marks? Did everybody find those quotation marks okay? Anybody need a review of where those are? Make sure your talking has your quotation marks. Make sure your talking has your capital. Make sure all of your dialogue has your comma.
I just checked that, and I have
Excellent. And how many people
I'm still not.
how many people used the word said when they were doing their talking? That's too many. Is that too many saids?
Miss Harrison.
Probably. What other words could you use instead of said? You could use croaked or whispered or cried or yelled or make some of your
I don't have like a ton of them. I have like 5 sets and a few more different ones.
Okay, make sure that when you do your dialogue tag because that's a great way for Mrs. Harrison and Mrs. Aubin to be able to understand in our heads how that character is reacting, right? If you say said, then I'm saying things right now, kind of just said. But if you say cried or screamed or croaked, that gives me a better sense of what they're doing. Yes, my friend.
I am all done writing and I read it and it sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to do some editing tomorrow and check off our checkoff list. So you're perfectly great. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on because Mrs. Aubin is still working. But what I would like everybody to do is at least you have to be at least through your problem and your reactions. So get through at least page 30 with me here, or we have to type through at least page 30. All right. If you're already done, then great. But if you're not up to page 30 yet, you need to keep typing. Okay. Because tomorrow I'm going to give you a little bit more time to type, but to finish the last 2 pages, but up till you gotta get up to page 30. So if you're done, Miss Haley Callender and all my other friends who are done, Mr. Cooper, what I would like you to do is now practice reading it fluently. Our last little thing on our list today was I can read it fluently, right? So you're going to practice being a fluent reader. Go back through your lovely Google Doc, and this time, instead of reading it as the writer, I want you to read it as a reader. I want you to give it emphasis. I want you to give it, make sure you're using your appropriate pace and volume. Make sure you're giving it good tone. Make sure the dialogue sounds like talking. So do some practicing of your work, okay? You can go ahead and you can go ahead and do that after our after we're going through. So I want to wait to dismiss you if Mrs. Aubin is in the middle of a group. Let's see, she is. All right, so let's go ahead and wait till Mrs. Aubin comes back, just to make sure that my friends who are feeling finished aren't in the next group. And that's what I'm worried about, is that Mrs. Aubin might have.
I'm here.
Okay. Do you have another group you want before I dismiss some of the others?
Can I do one more?
Yes, please. Can you tell us who they are?
Should you leave the meeting, Miss Aubin?
So stay, listen until Mrs. Aubin tells you who.
Okay.